Wow, there's so much to talk about. Um, the, I want I want to talk about two things, and I really just want to cover a little bit of the election stuff because it's kind of depressing. Not in the sense that we lost, because I sincerely do not believe that we lost, but in the sense that if it's allowed to stand the way that it is right now, there's no point in any of us going to vote ever again. I mean, I think you go and you listen to these people over on Vaush and other channels, and they're all giddy about oh, we got back the White House. They kind of screwed up. I think that what has happened, and it's kind of amazing because Trump, ended up exposing the FBI, the CIA, the media. I mean, he's exposed a lot of things that are corrupt about our government, and now he's exposed the election fraud, and we've all suspected that it's happening, but we've never actually been able to prove it, and nobody's done anything about it. I mean, people get prosecuted every year, but they get misdemeanors, and it's no big deal. So, we've been having problems for years. We've all known it, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I think what happened this year that has kind of screwed them up again is that they they had the mechanism for winning the election. They've known the whole time that they were going to win the election because they've never campaigned. They've never tried to worry about the black vote, the Hispanic vote. I mean, it's been the most mysterious campaign that I've ever seen in my lifetime, because nobody did. Biden was going out and making a fool out of himself most of the time that he went anywhere. There's nobody at his events. I mean, it was incredible. But the thing is that they have known the whole time that no matter what happened, Biden was going to get the vote because they were going to cheat. And you don't even have to find evidence of the cheating to know that this is what happened, because the minorities, the blacks and the Hispanics, voted more for Trump than ever before, and yet somehow he lost. So the same people that voted for him in 2016, almost every one of them voted for him again, but a whole lot more people voted for him. And we're going to claim that Biden actually got more votes than Trump did, and nobody was excited about Biden. I mean, people don't go vote because they hate Trump. I mean, some people do. Some people are about that stupid. But the big thing is the black community really had no reason to hate Trump. The media, sure, they said he was a racist, but anybody that would go watch the one time that he made a supposed racist comment, it was about Mexicans and it was about the gangs. But if you don't watch the whole tape, the media had chopped it up to make it look like it was racist. But the point is there wasn't enough content there to get the entire black community to think that he was a racist. And then, all of the other claims, the Russia conspiracy from 2016, every bit of that stuff has been disproven now. So even if you were hiding under a rock, I just don't think you had that many people that were hiding under rocks that are all of a sudden going to come out and vote. The older people in Florida, Trump won handily in Florida, but the older people in New York and Georgia and these other states, I don't even know how you explain. I think the last stat I heard was over 1,700% increase in voter registration for people over 90. So, you add all this stuff up, and I think what has happened is the Democrats had a plan to win the election. They knew they had a plan, and they were going to execute that plan. The problem is that so many votes came in for Trump that it overwhelmed their cheating. So they no longer could just do their subtle cheating just to get him over the line. They had to literally go into a massive overload of invalid ballots in order to get Biden up over Trump. And so what you saw was all of these major cities, they all stopped counting. Now, one would have to ask, if you were counting ballots and all you're doing is counting legal ballots, there is no reason to stop. You have shifts and they've never stopped before. Why did they stop? And in every single one of these places that they stopped, all of a sudden Trump was ahead in every single one of them, and then all of a sudden the entire thing shifted over to Biden. And they claimed that it was because of a bunch of mail-in ballots, but none of it makes any sense. So you have Trump winning all these counties and all these places all across the country, even in California. And then all of a sudden, Biden becomes the answer to all the, who won. And then and to further prove that it's all fake, the media has already announced that Biden won and Trump should just go on and do something different. In fact, they're claiming that he should go to jail. So it's just too convenient. I think that they were overwhelmed with how many votes came in, and they ended up having to make them all up just as quick as they could so that they could push this thing over. Another statistic that I've heard is the registrations, the people that actually went and voted. That there is a massive number of ballots that only have Joe Biden's name on them. They didn't take the time to go down and highlight all of the names, for the vote. They only voted for Joe Biden. And there's hardly any of those for Trump. And if you go back to the 2016 election, that didn't happen then either. So, and they were bringing up the fact that the independent votes that went to the independent candidate, they also didn't have single vote ballots. It was only Joe Biden that had, and I'm talking, 400,000 or 500,000 votes that got done for Joe Biden that only had his name on the ballot. So there's plenty of evidence that this is cheating. The question is, what are they going to do about it? The one thing I'm optimistic about, if any normal Republican was in office, we lost. Nobody's going to do anything about any of this, but I do feel good that Trump is in there and that he is going to fight. He's not going to take this sitting down. So that's all I want to say on the election. I wanted to do a really quick update on the socialist thing that I got involved in with Vaush and his cronies. So here's the latest on what's going on with the socialists. So one of them has taken it upon himself to start a conversation with me, and I think it's on the last video or the video before the last one. But he started a conversation, and his point is that there are because I asked what country are you going to point to prove that socialism works, and so he pointed to Cuba and to Haiti. Cuba is a pure socialist country, and he said his claim is that Cuba takes care of all their people, that they have free medical, free housing, free food, and that they're all happy, that everybody that lives in Cuba is very happy, and that they're poor. He did say that they're very poor, but they're all very happy. So apparently in Cuba there are no rich people. Everybody's poor, including the dictator that runs the place, and they're all equal and live in a harmonious environment. I think that if you actually went and talked to Cubans, they would disagree with that. But in any case, that's what the claim is. Now, in Haiti, he actually claimed that it is the environment more like what they want, which is it's not a pure socialist environment, but it's progressive socialism or whatever it is that they call it, some made-up bullshit name. The problem with Haiti, and he openly admits, is that it's full of corruption. People are murdered, kidnapped, all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on in Haiti, and that it's been overtaken by corruption, as if that somehow is a mystery to him. Then he attacks me, wanting to know what free market country I'm going to point to say that it's better. and of course, America. The guy lives in America. He claims that Cuba is a better place to live, but he lives in America. And so I brought up the fact that, when Obama got elected, I seriously started looking for another place to live. And the reason is because I could see that if we kept going down that trail, this is a point in my life that I decided that I couldn't participate in politics anymore. I had been let down my whole life. The politicians don't give a shit about anybody except for themselves, and this goes for the Republicans and the Democrats. And I'd had enough. I felt like the country was heading in a terrible direction, and so I started researching where else in the world could you go live. And the answer came back pretty, not just a little bit, but came back extremely strongly. There is no other better place to go live. America is it. If you attempted to find a better place to go live, you couldn't find it. You might find a prettier place. You might find a place where people are friendlier. I don't know where these places would be, but they're not anywhere that I would want to live. Not a single one of them. So that's kind of what got me back motivated to fighting for America, because if we lose America, the world's going to be a completely different place, and it's not going to be a place that any of us like. But here's the problem with every one of these guys' position. They go under the false premise that America is bad because there's a few companies that take advantage of the system and get all of the money, and there's none left over for any of the rest of us. And I've tried to point out to them that if that were true, then I would also be as poor as Vaush. And from what I understand, Vaush has got wealthy parents, but Vaush himself, I don't think, has ever done a productive thing in his damn life. So obviously there's something amiss when you start telling me that that our system is flawed like that. There is room for people to grow over here, and if there weren't, then it wouldn't be the most highly sought after place for people to go and migrate to. So if anything he said was true, then that wouldn't be the case. So the problem with all of these socialists, and the amazing thing is they really can't see this. I don't know if they're just not listening or if their IQ is so high that they can't contemplate reality. But they go under the false premise that humans are good. They're all good and they all want to live in harmony with each other, but they can't because of the system, because of the big business. And what they fail to see is that socialism is the first step to having a regime take over a country. Every single socialist country has been taken over. And so every single socialist system, every single system period is going to have corrupt people. So it's going to have corrupt people. It's going to have corrupt politicians. It's going to have people trying to game the system. And the problems that we have in America are not with America. It's not with Americans. It's with the system and the people that are playing the system. Just like the media being allowed to lie and having nothing to stop them. Things like this need to be taken care of. And I don't really understand how people look at this and can't see the difference between the system and the people and the country itself, because most Americans are good people. Most Americans just want to live, work hard, and be left alone. The socialists that are coming in trying to take over and trying to change everything that we're doing, all they're doing is setting the system up for collapse. And they're just too stupid to know it. And the bigger problem is that most all of these socialist people, they're all college educated, highly educated in some cases, and they've all been brainwashed. And the funny thing is brainwashing people that get brainwashed don't know they've been brainwashed. So these people say they haven't been brainwashed, but all you got to do is look at what they're saying, and it doesn't make any sense. Like it is so immature and crazy that anybody with a thinking head is going to say, well, wait a minute, if you make everybody equal, who's going to be in charge? You want these companies that are owned by the employees. Who's going to fire people? Who's going to hire people? Who's going to determine what this guy makes and what that guy makes? There's so many problems with setting up an environment like that that it's going to eventually be taken over because you have pacified everybody in the country to believing that there's this harmonious thing. You should do it because it's better for them. You should do it because it's better for the society. Well, okay, well, who's running the society? Who's controlling everything? So what you end up with is a country that is more controlled, more rules, more socially acceptable behavior and socially unacceptable behavior. And you end up with a place that nobody wants to live. I mean, go find any socialist country. Do you think the people in Cuba are really all happy? I don't think so. Do you think Haiti is the way it is just because of the people and not the system? I don't think so. So when it all comes down to it, these socialists are all fools. They do not have an inkling as to what in the world they're talking about. They go around throwing big words, big social justice words around to try to confuse the issue because they can't have a straight conversation. The stuff they're preaching is bullshit, and we don't want it. So, I don't, no matter how smart the person is, we don't need to believe in, that they know what they're talking about just because they use big words. Socialism sucks.